This is the final part of how to gain control of your hands. Part 2 was a really detailed look at the Lego practice technique. Now, maybe some of you don't really need that much detail, so this final part includes general suggestions that hopefully will work for you. The following ideas are especially great for pieces that you've already learned the basic notes and rhythm to, but can't really put it together quite yet. My favorite suggestion is number 4, so if you only have a minute today, make sure to check that one out. Suggestion number 1. When it comes to practicing, less is sometimes more, especially if you're having trouble with control. Let's say you have a half hour to practice for Elise, and honestly, the entire piece is a mess. Rather than feeling like you have to cram the entire piece into 30 minutes of practice, it's better to pick 2 to 8 measures and focus deeply on only those. Significant improvement to a small section is so much better than a 0.01% improvement on the entire piece. Suggestion number 2. Always review what you practice as soon as you can. If you practiced in the morning, try revisiting what you worked on maybe after dinner, even for just a slow playthrough. Then the next day at your practice session, make sure to review again before you do your deep work. Please don't get discouraged if the technical issues that you thought you solved the day before come back today, and the next day, and probably the day after that, and maybe even a week or 2 or a month after. What's important is that you're continually fixing the problem and reinforcing how to play it correctly. It will probably take less and less time for you to fix it until one day you find you've mastered it. Suggestion 3, learn in layers. If you're concerned about counting correctly and playing all the right notes and making sure that every dynamic change is there and making sure that everything is perfectly articulated and up to tempo, well, that's a lot to think about all at once, and it's easy to get frustrated. So try learning in layers. The order I'd go usually is rhythm, notes, musical expression, and then tempo. Suggestion 4, choreograph the piece. I'm not a dancer, but I know from the movies that dancers learn pieces on an 8 count. So they know that on count 1, they're here. And then on count 2, they're here. And then on count 3, they look down. This is the worst dance ever, but my point is that they know what's happening on every single count, as well as what's going on in between counts. Or in other words, they always know where they're headed. So for Elise is in 3, but let's count 4 measures at a time, so we'll work on a count of 12. I want to practice this transition section here, where your hands kind of go all over the keyboard, and it's really easy to lose track of where you are and how many times you've played this E to D sharp. So here's my 12 count, starting in measure 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. 12 counts is a lot to remember all at once. So let's start with counts 1 to 2, and I'll add the and. So 1 and 2. 1 and 2. 1 and 2. And just unlike a dance studio, or at least in a movie dance studio, say the counts out loud. Once you have that, add the next count to 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3. And so on. Just keep going until you get to 12. Suggestion 4.1. This is related to the past suggestion, but with a slightly different approach. Rather than using counts, try words. Each note will get a syllable. So here's my example. Get ready to go on an emotional, literary roller coaster. It doesn't matter what words you use, just as long as it's something that you'll remember and makes sense to you. Then, just like with the counts, practice from word to word. So first, please to go. Please go. Please go. Then, please go to up. Please go up. Now, please go up to the. Please go up the. And so on. And then every time you play that passage, your brain will have something to latch onto. Suggestion number 5, keep your brain engaged. It's really easy to slip into a mindless repetition zone. We make a mistake and then we say,
repeat 5 times.
Now, it's important for you to hear me when I say repetition is not the enemy here. Repetition is our friend. But when you're using repetition, your brain needs to know why you're repeating it and specifically what you're going to try to make it better. For example, let's say I'm leading an orchestra rehearsal. If I cut them off with a disappointed face and say, ugh, play that phrase 5 times again, the orchestra might have no idea why I want them to repeat it. All they'll know is that they did something wrong and I'm upset. And that's not very productive. So know what you're attempting to fix. Suggestion number 6, relax. Tension makes everything more difficult. Suggestion number 7, practice in rhythms. Now we're going to go deeper into this probably in a later video, but to get started, try these 2 simple rhythms. The first is a long, short rhythm. So when you see these 16th notes, rather than playing even 16th notes, play the first one long, second short. Make sure that the rhythm stays really snappy, not letting the short note get lazy and too long. So do this, a couple times, maybe 3 to 10, and play then the second rhythm, which is short, long. So how does this help? Honestly, it always feels kind of magical because it solves so many problems, at least for me. And this video is already, getting kind of long. So I'll just say that it shifts the strong beats that we feel and improves our finger coordination and strength. And it just makes it feel so much easier when you go back and you play it straight or normally. You'll see what I mean if you give it a try. Suggestion number 8, this is the vaguest of them all, but get creative in your practice. This is a time of exploration, creativity, analyzing, and problem solving. So you've got to find what works for you and experiment. So make up a new practice game and then come back here and share it with the rest of us. Go practice.